Yo, a question I get asked all of the time is what's the best class, what's the best talents, what's the best runes, and the best builds overall in the game. So over the next week, we are going to release a video on each of these things. So today we're going to do classes, tomorrow's we're going to be doing runes, the next day we're going to be doing talents, and the day after that we're going to build it all together and build up a class video or not class video. We're gonna build up a top 5 builds video for all of you. And again, this has to do with chapter 1 specifically because they did give us balance changes. So let's get into this. So before I start, I want to talk about how these are specifically what's the best classes, not the best gauntlets or offhands. At the end of the video, I'll probably go over some gauntlets that I think are best for individual classes, and I might even talk about them as I go within those classes. So to get things started, things have shifted a little bit since prologue. This is chapter 1. They did give us some balance changes. So off the bat, I didn't expect to talk about Tempest as my number 1. I don't think it's going to be your easiest class to master. However, if you do get it down, then you're going to. I'm gonna switch screens actually and talk about these. So Tempest got a little bit of a buff. Squall now happens right off the bat as soon as you leave the ground, and you no longer have to wait a second to get squall damage, which means you don't have to be in the air really. You can just hop around or use your rune or really just run at the person and jump as you slap somebody. So there's a lot of bonus damage in this class. It also has pretty good movement for the game overall. A lot of Tempest people will probably, Tempest players will probably tell you that's incorrect. It does have a lot of movement. You do have a lot of options when you're around buildings. However, if you're in the air and there's nothing around you to slap, you kind of are just like a sitting duck and you're in a duck hunt video game for lightning or ice to just kind of pick at you. Currently though, there is an issue with updraft. If you're playing the game in chapter 1, updraft is a little bit of bugged. It's not going to the height that it's supposed to. So once that's fixed, I do believe that Tempest will be sitting in the number 1 slot, especially if you max minute with your talents. Then you get to number 2. People are probably gonna be mad that I'm not talking about Pyro yet. However, Pyro was basically just 1 talent anyway. So number 2 is gonna be Toxicologist in my opinion. Toxicologist got no changes. It got no changes in chapter 1, 0. However, it's one of its main runes did get a change. It got a clamp down of its momentum. However, I believe that actually helps Toxicologist in a little bit of a way because you can know exactly when you're going to stop with that momentum. It's not gonna carry based on how much levitation you do or just holding it down or just W king or whatever. It's gonna be the exact same every single time. So you have a little bit of a steadiness where you know exactly what's gonna happen. So you can line those up primo supremo. There are a few things in this class that don't really make sense. Like this says +2 clouds. You would think that would be +2 extra clouds, not like that you could throw separately, right? No, it's all 3 together in a line. And I don't really think that helps the class at all. But this class has 75% toxic spray damage when you're invisible, which means you can use 2 runes in the game to give you that damage, which is gonna be invisibility, and it's gonna be shadow step, both of which are decent runes. I, for one, cannot see invisibility hardly at all still. It's not because of my graphic setting, it's not because of my monitor, it's just I just can't see it, and that is a reason why I have such a problem with it. However, I do play Pyro, so Toxicologists are kind of my build kind of hard counters Toxicologist, but we'll get there. Also, you got viscosity, so you just can sit back and kind of garden people, spewing your ooze on the HoloLands and kind of have them stick there. If they don't know what to do when they are stuck, they'll probably try to walk out of it instead of jump out of it, and you can just hit them with an easy shot. And then we get to my build, which is Pyro. Pyro has taken kind of a hit this patch, mainly because all Pyro really was, and the only reason that it was really even that good to begin with, was Combust. Combust, you could literally miss somebody and hit them for 30 damage if you hit the ground beside them. Now it's more like 8 or 9, so it got a big damage drop off. The actual radius didn't change, right? So it's still 200% radius of Combust, which Combust means you can miss the target and it blows up and it does damage to them while it misses if you hit an area beside them, right? They didn't change the radius, they did change the fall off, and it's pretty steep. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's pretty steep. Firefly is a great talent. I love Firefly. Firefly is probably my favorite movement ability in the game. Second would be probably Updraft from Tempest, but Updraft is bugged currently, and then you've got Toxicologist's Vanishing Mist. So then you've got two of these that don't, in my opinion, really help you hardly at all, unless you are really good at placing your firewall. Will this do anything for you, Pyrolysis? It's that blue fire that you see when you place your firewall. It does 100% more damage for 2 seconds. It's not really that much of anything. And the conflagration, it did get a change. I wouldn't call it a buff. 2 more cinders that pop off when you hit something. You used to have 4 cinders that would pop off. It would do damage. Now it pops off and it just ignites something. No matter if you hit them with 2 cinders or 1, it only does the same 2 ticks of 4. So it doesn't doesn't damage them. It does no longer collide with your fireballs, which is amazing. So I can actually W key somebody and not worry about that happening. Really, the only thing that made Pyro so good was combust. And so remember this, I'm not talking about the gauntlets themselves. I'm only talking about the class. The gauntlet of fire, in my opinion, is the most versatile, the best well-rounded gauntlet in the game. However, the class is right in the middle. I don't really see it being the best class out there. It is what it is. It does have movement. It does have some damage, and it does have some actual, like, so this is like an actual elemental factor for the class. So I do believe that this is sitting heavily at number 3, which brings us to number 4 in my list, which would be Conduit. So Conduit has a lot of interesting things to it, right? It's a very cool class. It's just like, it's such a weird, Conduit is one of those classes that I think is supposed to be built around rune charges and movement, right? However, the gauntlet itself kind of stops you from doing that. And the class itself is not really built around what it's supposed to be built, in my opinion, what it's supposed to be built around. So potential energy is lightning bolt +1 damage every bolt until you stop casting, max at +5. So if you do 6 bolts, it's only gonna do +5. And again, you don't have to hit somebody to get this damage. So this is a very cool, and +1 doesn't sound like a lot, but it is when you look at the gauntlet itself. And then you've got overload on cast lightning strike +1 rune charge. And this is what I was talking about, how it doesn't really have movement built into the class. Like you can't like use your gauntlet or your sorcery to make yourself move around the map like you can with Tempest, Toxicologist, and Pyro. The reason I think those 3 are above this is you don't have to have a rune charge to use this, and you don't even have to have a rune to use Tempest, Toxicologist, and Pyro. Within Conduit, you have to have a rune, and you can't really have that. In general, you can't have the synergy of, like, let's say I want to have dash or shadow step on Tempest, but I also want to have like a feather fall type of rune, right? It's going to shoot you straight into the air, but it's not. Conduit is lacking a little bit in the movement category unless you have a rune, right? Which if you use Spellslinger, then it opens up the whole entire thing. But remember, I'm just talking specifically about the class itself. Power Surge on cast lightning strike -100% spell mana cost. This is actually huge for the gauntlet that is with Conduit, which is the lightning gauntlet. Lightning gauntlet, if you don't know, is a gauntlet. It's basically as hit scan as you can get in this game, and it is like basically an AR type of gauntlet. And so to have this for 4 seconds, this doesn't really sound like a lot if you're playing like stone or ice or fire or toxic. However, if you're constantly shooting with no mana cost, this is pretty dangerous, especially with this up here where it +1 for every bolt. So that means for the ramp up part, you're not even using your mana to get there. You're just getting there, right? And then you get to secondary strike, lightning strikes +4 strikes. This is cool. However, in a lot of circumstances, not a lot of people are going to even really be in the same area. For 5, it does sometimes catch you off guard if you happen to feather fall at the wrong time, or if you are just like sitting still for a second for some reason, or if you're not running harmony and you get stuck on the edge when you're entering in and you're trying to go all the way through it, you're gonna get hit with at least 3 of them. So if you get hit, just turn around, go the other way, and don't like try to force yourself through it. But yeah, so Conduit is a good class. However, it's not really built around the gauntlet itself. Like, this class is supposed to be, in my opinion, a very fluid, movement heavy class, but in reality, it's like a, let me TP here, stand here for a second, and go at you. Another reason why this is in the 4 slot and not higher is due to the fact that this is a battle royale currently, and you want to be able to face every single type of situation, which is another reason why my next one is not higher up as well. You want to be able to face every single situation, whereas Tempest now can be on the ground and not have to worry about anything, or it can be in the air, it can be running around, it can be, there's so many things that can do with Tempest, Toxicologist, and Pyro, where they don't really, it doesn't really matter where they are on the battlefield, they can do well, right? So that's why you've got Conduit at 4 in my opinion, and then at number 5, we've got Frostborn. Frostborn got some changes that are actually pretty freaking cool, in my opinion. Frostborn off the gate is one of those classes that people run and they're like, oh my god, I'm Frozone. Like, I'm Frozone, I can skate on the ice. Every single person I've ever seen play the game pretty much has a freak out reaction about alacrity. Like, they all have that, oh man, this is really freaking cool, right? So alacrity, you're 150% faster acceleration on ice trails, and it leaves your ice lance leaves an ice trail on the ground. Other classes can't leave an ice trail. They can run on your ice trail, but they can't actually create one themselves. And then you got Icicle. Icicle is the thing that got to change this patch in chapter 1. Ice lance, hover in midair while aiming for 5 seconds. That was already there. Ice lance, highlight targets while aiming. That was already there. On full ice lance full charge, -100% 25% Ice Lance mana cost. This is kind of insane. So once people are like really good at this, I feel like it might be a little bit of a problem, but still you might be able to out damage them depending on what you have and how close you are. But if they stick out that shot for that full charge, which isn't really that long, they don't have to waste any mana. So they can shoot you with a full Ice Lance and then round it out with a Tox Slap or a Fireball or a Stone Slam or 2 types, like whatever, like they still have their full mana. So if you're chasing at somebody and they're holding it down, just be prepared that they're gonna have their full mana. They're not gonna have to recharge their mana after they let go of that and ping you for whatever the highest damage they could possibly get out of it is. Then you've got Tundra, immune to damage while casting Flash Freeze. Flash Freeze duration is plus 100%. This didn't really get technically a change. However, the VFX did get changed, and you can now see when they're immune when they do throw their Tundra out. So it's actually kind of like, I don't know if it's really a nerf for them specifically, but me being able to tell that they are out, that they are immune, I won't waste my mana to actually shoot them. However, seeing through the Tundra is a lot harder now, in my opinion, I think on both sides. So this has just got to change. I wouldn't call it a nerf. And then you got Ice Prism, which is Ice Lance's overcharge for 0.5 seconds for 35% damage. So with that Icicle, once they have Ice Prism, it doesn't mean they have to do that 0.5 seconds longer. They already have it at that original time. So then they get the 35% damage, and there you go. Then we get to Stone. Stone, in my opinion, a lot of people think Stone Shaper is busted as hell when they start playing this game. It's really not. You've got plus 20 armor, but you have to get rid of your armor first. You have to get rid of all of your armor. You can't actually just continue to do this plus 20 armor on top of whatever armor you have. You have to get rid of all of that armor and then build it up 20. Then you got Bedrock, which in my opinion should just be how Stone works anyway, because it's the fast crash to the ground and not like, oh, I'm gonna slam you, that Stone already has. Then you got Accretion. Boulder size grows as it flies. This is cool, I guess. It's not really like anything interesting. Then you've got Max Boulder Fall charges +1, which again is not that amazing. It's +1, but I don't even think that it does that much damage. So it is what it is. So Stone really doesn't have a lot. It doesn't have movement. It doesn't have like hardly anything supremely interesting about it. I do think that it needs a lot of reworks or changes to even be considered a top class. However, you can make Stone pretty freaking annoying with your talents. So those are kind of my tiers for the classes themselves. When it comes to gauntlets, it's almost completely opposite. It's one of those things where it's like the class doesn't really suit the gauntlet itself, but you can make them work outside of hands. But yeah, guys, if you, I'm sure you differ in your opinion. There's a lot of people in the Spellbreak community. So if you differ in your opinion, please feel free to comment in the comments or stop by the stream, which I stream Monday through Friday. I start at 9 a.m. and I just kind of roll till I feel like getting off, which is usually around 3 p.m. And all those times are Eastern, by the way. So come in, tell me how it goes. Tomorrow's is Runes. I'll see you there. Peace.